3, root 4. I think that's labeled right. I remember the first time I was doing this, I did not have them, root 1 was not attached to mass 1. It really messed me up when I was trying to solve it. All right, so the key things here are, I've got 2 forces acting on this. Here, if this were frictionless here, mass 3 would be pulled that way, but it's in equilibrium, static equilibrium, it's not moving. So there's got to be friction here keeping this in place. And that's friction between these 2 objects. This also has friction acting down here. This mass, you'll have this tension pulling this way, and 2 frictions going back. The key thing, one of the key things is recognizing that at this point right here, there is something connecting the roots. And so there is going to be, if I look at that point, I'm going to have a tension down. I'm going to have a tension up at that angle, and I'm going to have a tension this way. That is going to be in equilibrium. So this one's easy enough to figure out because I've got a massive dangling here. So I know what the vertical component of this is in order to counter that. The next thing I need to do is figure out what is this tension here. Well, first I figure out what the tension is here. Once I know that tension, I can figure out the friction force acting here. So now I know the friction force acting here at the top. At the bottom, well, I've got a normal force, the normal force at this place right here. I can calculate. And once I know the normal force, I gave you the coefficient of static friction, so you can figure out the friction acting down here, and then you find the force, the tension here. But set up the force diagram right. Get your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 equations of motion. And solve.
I did that part, but what I don't understand is how the angle would affect the mass 1 from slipping or not.
So part B.
Yeah.
The important thing to recognize here is that this vertical component, because they have this tension acting this way, I'll break it up into 2 components. This component is going to counter that. That is the only vertical, that's the only other vertical force at that intersection.
Why would it not be horizontal?
The horizontal is going to counter this,
Okay.
but this doesn't change. So this part right here, that component of tension 3 is not changing. The only thing that could possibly change is this, if I change the angle. Imagine, just run through some scenarios. Another way that you could do it is imagine, because you know this is just barely moving, so you know what the tension is that keeps it just barely in place. If you drop the angle, does that tension increase or decrease? If you increase the angle, does that tension increase or decrease? Because if I just told you, you have this spot right here in equilibrium, I've got, just say 30 newtons acting down, I have some unknown there, I have some unknown there. If it's in equilibrium, I know those 2 have to be equal to balance out. I know this has to be 30 newtons. So at different angles, what is that? And once you know that, if it's still in equilibrium, you know this. Hopefully that is sufficient.
That was sufficient.
Other questions?
So anything that you're in there today, grade wise? Yes.
Okay, that's the 5-minute one. All right. What was your question?
Are we getting anything back grade wise for this? You're grading your part, basketball.
Yeah. Sorry about that. All right. That dramatic pause there was for questions, if there are none.
Are there gonna be, those like weird questions at the end of the test form? Like the extra credit, not the weird questions, but the,
Are there gonna be extra credit questions? Yes, if I remember.
can you give us a hint?
Isn't that what the question is? It's a big hint.
Are they impossible? Are they?
Hopefully it will not be as abstruse as last one was.
Something we can more than likely
Yeah,
get. Thank you.
And those are 1 point a piece, right?
no,
Oh,
well, it's complicated.
okay.
Probably not what you need to concentrate on.
Yeah.
Now, once we do this test tomorrow, when will test corrections for that test be due on the 9th? Cause that's like the last,
Yeah, or the 10th.
or the 10th.
I'm not quite sure when grades are due.
Okay.
I suspect grades are due the Monday.
I was gonna say
After.
the 14th, I think.
Okay, oh, that's right. You would have some insight.
I do.
And you said we're probably doing our third test on the 9th and then the multiple choice one on the 10th.
That's what I'm picturing right now.
So by the 14th in Blackboard, we should be able to see our letter grade.
They should be in. Now, whether you see them or not, I don't know, because there's been issues in the past with once the semester ends, you lose access to that course.
Oh, yeah.
And so you won't see anything there, but you should be able to go into Blackboard or
Like
my
tech-
Foresight Tech.
Link, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see it there in your grades.
Yeah, okay.
So our letter grade will be like a little surprise for us.
I don't like those
Could be.
kind of surprises.
I will say that after the 10th and before the 14th, or before noon on the 14th, do not send me an email asking me what your grade is.
No, you don't.
I don't like that.
So after the test on the 9th, can we do test corrections until the 10th?
I have done that before. I had a class, we talked me into letting them do test corrections for the last test. And it ended up being a mess of time for me and made not one whit of difference to anyone's grade.
Yeah.
Also, after you got your last test, that's it.
So, Abigail?
Are you offering extra credit if we fill out the course evaluations maybe?
No.
Points per test.
I don't look at the course evaluations anymore.
You're like, I don't care. It was worth that.
I did, but no one has pointed out any weakness that I didn't already know. There's a common issue of, he takes too long to read. That I know.
But I feel like you, because you're not doing multiple choice, you actually grade it better, to say.
That's my rationalization.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
you get the
I think
most
you-
points possible.
I did have a student when I was at USC, still in grad school. It's the only comment I remember from that evaluation. It was, he thinks he's funny, but he's not.
Oh, that's sad.
Are they anonymous or these people?
Yeah, I don't know who did that one. I mean, I could have done a handwriting comparison. And when they started here, I would give it to you and then a student would take it over to whoever calculates that. Somebody would type up the comments and I would see that. But since they've gone to the electronic version, so few students actually fill it out that,
That's why
you know,
the teachers offer extra credit, because they want us to fill it out.
Yeah.
I won't be filling it out.
Except
The class does
I
it.
won't know who did it or who didn't. And, you know,
But if 80% of class does it, then
That's what I was gonna say,
everybody
like
gets
if
extra
the percentage of the class does it, he
That's
doesn't
what
care.
that's
He's
what
like,
you're in biology.
it's okay.
yeah, I appreciate the input, but, I'm going to ignore that bit.
It's okay.
Understand.
Every point counts.
If you have an issue, I would like to think that you would send me an email, just, you suck and here's why.
You're not.
You're
funny at
awesome,
all.
here's why. But, yeah. There it is.
Class dismissed?
Katika wants to go, so have a good nice day.
So, can you go this time? Okay.
Yeah,